Hello! Do you ever wonder if limbo is a real thing? If there is any kind of in-between from here and the afterlife? Be it barred entry from what's next, or perhaps just a waiting room. What do you think? Well, my story today will introduce you to someone who might live in that space, and aids those in need with the power of home-cooked meals. In the middle of nowhere, on a grassy field surrounded by dark forests, there stood a very out-of-place object. A two-story, brightly colored brick rectangular building, quite unlike anything that exists in our realm. Though you wouldn't know that if you passed by, not unless you were dead. So let's hope that's not the case. With a quaint little living space above and a rather unique cafe below, this is the Lonely Kitchen. Operated and cared for by one and only one person, Mapin. An elderly, some say magical, but a chef whose clientele, more often than not, are the recently deceased. She specializes in the kind of cooking that evokes a feeling. The sort of preparation and flavors that only love could produce. Like a braised stew that has been slowly simmering all day. Or a hearty breakfast that had to be started before the sun was above the horizon. Filling the house with an aromatic ambience that will linger in your subconscious till the end of your days. It's quite a wonderful skill, and she uses it to help those in need to pass through the unseen veil. One last meal, a beautiful sentiment, one that culminates a lifetime of memories, allowing the spirits to let go of the corporeal, and at last move on to whatever comes next. I suppose it can be sad to think about, but I feel reassured that someone is there. A friendly face, if you will, after the unthinkable happens. Even more so considering that we are practically neighbors. Oh yes, I'm still digging through the whys and hows, but on the other side of our own hills, and separated by the forests, there she is. Been here much longer than the Gathering Stone, in fact. Well, maybe not the stone itself, but definitely before it was sundered in two. She must have been very busy indeed during that period. Which reminds me of a very recent event that Mapin shared with me. So let's begin. It was a snappy, cold winter's morning. The silvery blanketed sky hid the stars from view, as the sun had yet to break the spell of hibernal gray and frost. But that didn't stop Mapin from keeping her kitchen warm and inviting, a beacon amongst the bleak, wherein she had one solitary visitor, a small departed spirit that found its way through the dark, to arrive at a cushioned little bar stool, patiently waiting for something it didn't know it needed. Mapin, with a cinched blue apron about her waist, ignited the old trusty stovetop and began heating a heavy-bottomed skillet over a low flame. Turning around, she grabbed a small decorative bowl from the island in the middle of her kitchen. Along with that, there were also 2 eggs, a small amount of diced scallions, 1 small sliced chili, this one likes spicy things, and a shiny brown liquid for flavoring. She forgot the butter. Mapin snapped her fingers and a small yellow knob appeared above the skillet, then dropped in and began to silkily froth as it melted. Grabbing one of the eggs, she was just about to crack it into the bowl when a ringing bell from the front door grabbed her attention. Another solitary spirit came floating in. Mapin offered a warm smile and grabbed 2 more eggs as the new guest came to sit by the first. She adjusted her apron and once again was about to crack an egg to get things rolling, when the bell rang for a 3rd time, followed quickly by another, and then another. Breathing out, Mapin set the egg down, turned off the stovetop, closed her eyes and hung her head in quiet contemplation as the bell continued to chime. "33 in total. 34 if you count the little fellow who was already present. Something terrible has happened, but it's not the first time. And unfortunately, it's becoming far too common as of late." Mapin shook her head and let out another long breath. She turned to look out at her small dining room that was now full of glowing and floating little expectant ghosts. A normal meal wasn't going to cut it. These people needed something special. Well, she was magical after all, and there's no way she was going to cook for 34 in a way that satisfied everyone enough to continue on their way. Well, everyone loves dessert, she thought. So with a rather dramatically deep inhale, Mapin rolled her sleeves, pulled up her pant legs, then slid each foot out to either side. Taking a wide stance, she spread her arms, opened her eyes, exhaled, and swung her hands together in a thunderous clap that echoed for all to hear. And then a plethora of sugary delights began to appear above each and every spirit's head. Tiramisu, chocolate-dipped strawberries, custard-filled tarts with flaky crusts, glistening little cannolis, an assortment of tangy macarons, and creme caramel topped with a dollop of sorbet, all lightly levitating in the air, before gently falling and digesting into the spirit's very centers. It was quite a marvel to witness, and as the last bits of crumbly confection were dissolved, a soft glow emanated as they all disappeared into nothing, satisfied one last time before their inevitable thereafter. Now resting with both hands on the island, Mapin felt exhausted, but happy she could lend aid. Letting out yet another sigh of relief, she smiled, and turned the oven back on to warm up the now cold skillet, then cracked 2 eggs into a bowl, and began swirling the next meal for her last, but subsequently first customer that was still patiently waiting. It must be hard work keeping up with a job like that. Gratifying for sure, but difficult. Especially when someone like Lobo, our evil antagonist, is still at large causing such mass casualties. Well, for now, that's it for this week. We will check in with Mapin at a later point in time, but I hope you enjoyed this little fly-on-the-wall story. Be sure to come back next week for new tales, characters, and creations. Farewell for now.